In the last video, I showed how to use Maven, and I showed how to use Maven with kind of a project that was downloading data from Google Trends. But so this time we're going to do the same thing. We're going to use Maven. We're going to download some data from an API, but we're going to package it up with something called One-JAR. And what One-JAR is going to let us do is package up all of our libraries and our code all into one jar file that we can run from the command line, and we can, put this up on a server somewhere, do whatever we need to do with it. We don't have to take the libraries with it. It'll package it all into one file, so it'll be kind of cool. So what I was going to do, I was going to get this GitHub API going. So GitHub, they have an API that lets you query unauthenticated, and you can just do GET requests. So you can hit this in your browser, like if you wanted to just go straight to your browser like this. Oh, well, there's nothing there. But here's another one I did. You can hit this api.github.com, and so they have search as one of them, and I was going to do search repositories. So search/repositories, Q is the query. So I was querying for GSON. We can look, I have a repository called Java 1 class demos. Let's see if that'll show up. Yep, there it is. And there's my username. So, and there's my avatar. So what we're going to do is make it so you can call this from the command line with this argument on the command line, and then it prints this data back to the command line. And maybe all we'll do is print out the owner. Like we'll say, here's the repository name and here's the owner, and maybe we can give them a link to the repository or something. So let's go ahead and start working on this. One thing we're going to need is a library called Commons CLI, which is a command line argument parsing library. So we can look and see what their documentation says. You'll have options. You can add options. So just so when you can specify which order the commands come in that you're going to search on, maybe we'll save that for later. But the other thing we're going to need is this One-JAR plugin. It's if you Google One-JAR Maven plugin, you're going to get to this MK Yong example first. That's not the one you probably want to use. You actually want to use this one called One-JAR Maven plugin at Jolira, and that one is available on Maven Central. So that's actually what you want to use. And they have an example here. They where is it? Here we go. So if you put this in, it'll automatically download One-JAR as well in your plugins. So this is the one you want to use. All right. So the other thing we're going to do is we're going to use OkHttp again, like we did in the last video, and this is going to be how we're going to actually download the or how we're going to actually hit the GitHub URL. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to start with this dependency. We're going to create a new project. Actually, first I wanted to show you guys, this is what we did last time in the last video. I hit Google Trends with this OkHttp library, and then we parsed it out using GSON, which is the Google JSON parsing library. So if we run this again, you're going to see it's going to get like the top trends for the United States, Veterans Day. I'm not sure where that is, but anyway, you'll see all the trends for the various regions it's got here. Okay, so let's do a new project. Let's call it Github Search CLI command line interface. Next, finish. So first thing we're going to do is say configure as a Maven project. All right. I'm going to go straight to the POM. I'm not going to use the interface, and I'm going to say dependencies, and I'm going to paste our OkHttp dependency right in here, since I know that we need that. Okay, and then we will make a new class, and we'll call it GitHub Search. Put a main method on there, empty that out. I'm going to do, this is going to be for debugging purposes. We're going to say arrays.toString on args, and we're going to do some special thing when we run this because we want to actually use this data that we're running it with. So I'm going to say run as Java application. Okay, great, empty array. What I want to do is modify this run configuration, this GitHub CLI search, and what we're going to do is add arguments. So we'll say here's a program argument, and I'll make the query be Java 1. Is that the name of the repository? Java 1 class demos. We'll hit apply and I'll run. Right, so the first argument, so let's just say search term is, we're going to actually use a command line parser later, I think, but for now we'll just say the first argument is actually what the program is going to run as. So we'll say search term is string term equals args 1. Oh no, whoops, it'll be 0. Sorry about that. Okay, great. So that's working. What we actually want to do is use this Apache Commons CLI, and I have the Maven link for it, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this link. We're going to go to our POM file, and I'm going to throw that dependency in there. You'll see our Maven libraries have been updated. We've got OKIO and we've got Commons. So save that. I'm going to check out how you do this. So it looks like we need a parser and it looks like we need options. So I'm just going to copy this. I know I'm going to probably make it with a queue, kind of the same way it was. So I'll say here's some command line options. So options should be, see, there are two options. You have to be careful when you're importing, when you're working with multiple libraries. We want the org.apache Commons CLI. All right, in queue, we're going to make it called queue, and queue is going to be the repository search term. Okay. So the second parameter is whether or not the option requires an argument or not. So if it's false, it's a flag. If it's true, it's a value. So we're going to pass true because we do want it to be an argument. True. And it looks like the next thing we do is command line parser. So we're going to have to parse the command line. We've got command line parser, default parser. I'm just importing the default since there's no conflict. Command line, it looks like we need to grab this one. And then we can say, I think that can throw an exception. So we're just going to throw the exception. It's fine with me. Then I'll say if cmd.hasOption queue. And actually what we should probably do, if it doesn't have option, please enter a search term queue. And then we'll system exit. So otherwise I want to grab that option. I just want to actually grab the value from that. How do we do that? I did actually want to see how to do that. But it should be a string search term equals cmd dot get option value q. Okay. Okay, let's see if this is working now. It's not going to work because we didn't put a Q in here, but let's just see. Okay, please enter a search term Q. Great. I'm going to do run configurations, arguments. Let's do -q. Java class 1 demos. Okay, great. So let's give the user a message. So I'm gonna format this %s, and I want to put quotes around it, and then I want to say ... So let's see how this looks. Java 1 class demos. Great. That's exactly what we want it to look like. And then now we're going to do the search. So the URL we want to call is actually going to be something like this. And the endpoint is going to be q equals. So we're just going to say plus search term. And we should probably do some validation and say if not search term, or sorry, this is not JavaScript. If search term equals null, or search term equals empty string, let's make it less than 3 chars. How about that? Okay, so that looks a little better. Okay, and that'll be our endpoint we're searching for. So let's go grab that OkHttp library and figure out how to use that. We're going to do a GET request. Here's a GET request. This is a POST request. So let's do this GET request. It appears that yeah, they've got a method here. I'm going to rename this. I'm going to say get data, and we'll make this private static. How about that? Since we're doing everything from a static context, IO exception, request should be in here. We already added this. Response should be in here. We already added that. We do need a client. I'm going to make that a static client on the main part of the class. Say static private static, and we will need to import that. So you can see we're starting to import things. Java is smart enough to group them, or sorry, Eclipse is smart enough to group these together by the library. But you can see we imported 3 things from OkHttp, and we imported 3 things from CLI command line parser from that Apache Commons CLI. The other thing we're going to do, I think, is move this out into a library. Let's go ahead and I'm going to do refactor extract method. So I want it to return a string. Yeah, this looks good. Okay. We're gonna call this get let's see, let's call it get CLI args. Okay, great. So first thing we do immediately, we call get CLI args. Makes sense. And I think what we can also do is move this stuff down into here. It's not super necessary to have it up there in the main part of the program, that validation stuff. The other thing I want to do is put a system.exit here and a 1 because it's going to be a fail. If this doesn't validate here, we're going to do a system exit. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is call get data. So we're going to get the string result and we'll call it get data and we'll send in the endpoint. Okay, and then we'll print that out. Just to print it out, it's going to look pretty bad because it's not going to be formatted, but just to make sure things are working, we're going to have to do that. Just formatting things here. All right, I'm going to do run configurations, arguments. So it's going to say Q Java 1 class demos. So that's good. Let's hit run. Great. Okay, look. So we got everything. We got this huge amount of data coming through. It looks like it's way more than we want to use, and it's this stuff. I have a JSON formatter plugin here on my Chrome browser, so that's why everything's nice and formatted here in my browser. But I think what we want to do is iterate through items and grab the name and then grab the owner and maybe a link to the repository or the owner, something, or the owner's picture, I don't know, something like that. So let's do that. The next thing we need to do is parse this data, right? So I did have a working example of some JSON parser, and this program in particular is OkHttp runner. It was using GSON. So let's look at this POM file and steal this reference to GSON. So I'm going to grab this dependency for GSON since we're going to use that. I'm going to throw that reference in here. And so now we've got 3 libraries. And I'm going to use this. I'm going to do JSON parser, new JSON parser, and then I'm going to parse the result as a JSON object. So let's go ahead and do that. In our Github search, comment this out, results will be there, and let's do syso on this object, see if this worked. I'm gonna make sure I use this same runner, because if I use this same runner, I'll make sure I get these arguments put in here, because I need the command line arguments to make this run. Right, okay. So still working, it looks like it's fine still. What we want to do is get an entry set and get the items entry, and then inside of that we're going to get an array, looks like. Yeah, huge amount of keys in these objects. Huge amount of keys, 69 keys. Yep, all right, so let's try and get that items key out. So I want to do o.get, let's see what I can do. I want to get the member element called items. And I think I want total count as well. So I'm pulling some things out o.get total count, and I think what we're going to do is grab that JSON element and then say as an integer. It looks like it's going to be an integer. .get as, is there an integer as int? So that looks good. We're just going to go ahead and say total results is total count. I'm going to fix that here. And we'll say, let's just print out items to make sure that looks good. I'm going to comment this one out here. Okay, run that. Okay, it looks like it worked. I think I saw it. Yeah, total results 3. So it did parse it correctly, and now we've got a JSON array. So that looks good. That looks pretty good. I think that's what we want. So now we've got to think, what are we going to put in here? What are we going to print out? Because obviously some of this stuff is like just crazy big. I don't want to put description in here. Yeah, what are we going to do? So it looks like we can get the full name. That'll be good to show. And we can do HTML URL. That looks good. And maybe we can do description. How about those 3 items? So to do this, I think we'll create a public static class. So public static class, and we'll call it repository. And it'll have a public string name. It'll have a public string URL. And it'll have a public string description. And for this class, I didn't want to generate getters and setters, but what I do want to do is I do want to do a nice constructor here. Make it easy for us. There we go. So that looks good. And I think we'll do a toString too. Let's say generate toString. Looks good. All right. We'll probably end up changing this toString later, just to make it print out nice to the terminal. All right. So this JSON element, this is actually going to be an array. So I think we're going to say get as JSON array, or for safety, if there's nothing that comes back, let's do that later. Let's say if items is not null. Let's do a sanity check here and say if total count does not equal 0, or if total count equals 0. Just say sysout there are no results. And then we'll exit the program. So we'll just do that. And then I'm not going to do any validation down here, since if there are results, it should be a valid array. JSON array. I'm going to loop through the array, so I'm going to say for JSON element in items. Looks like perfect. All right. So we had to reparse that down in that object. We had to parse these again since we parsed the higher level. So what was I going to do? I'm going to grab the name. I'm going to grab the URL, and I'm going to grab the description. So let's go ahead and do that. And I think we want HTML URL is what we actually want. Get HTML URL, get as string, and we want string description object.get, and we want to do description. We're going to do get as string. Okay. So we've got these things, we've got these pieces of data. I'm going to create a list of repositories, and we're going to populate it. So Java util list, repository, repos, array list, and I'll say repos.add new repository, and we've got there we go, we've got everything that we need right there. So later on, what I can do now is say for repository in repos, I can say repo.toString. So let's see what that looks like. I'm going to do a another empty line right here, and we're going to go ahead and run this Java application. Oh yeah, so that one description is like crazy long. We probably don't want to do that in like any circumstances. So let's work on our print line, or our print statement, a little bit. I'm going to do a string builder here. New string builder. And what this string builder does is it's going to let us append stuff onto it. So I'm going to say builder.append name plus name builder.append, and it'll be the URL, and then we'll say builder.append. And the one thing I'm going to do before we do this last append, I'll say if description does not equal null and description is greater than let's do 100 characters. We're going to do builder.append. You know what? Let's see. We probably don't want to truncate the original one. We'll say temp description equals description dot substring 0 100. Just because, or let's do 120. Just because we don't want to truncate the original description, we want to modify a new one. Yes, so then we can do builder.append description plus temp description. Okay, that should do the trick. Return builder.toString. Let's see how that looks now. There we go. Right. So the name, the URL, and the description looks pretty good now. So the last thing we want to do, we want to make it so we can run this from the command line actually, and we want to be able to pass in different queries, and we want this to be like a standalone jar file. So this will be us using the One-JAR plugin. Again, it's right here. What you do is you create a plugin, and plugins are nested underneath build. So if you see that this is their example, it's under build. So we're going to go to our build and we're going to add it under there. Plugins, yeah, there's a plugin. Here's our new plugin, our Jolira plugin. We have to specify a main class. So what I'm going to specify is just called OkHttp runner. And that should do it, really. So now we're going to have a new Maven goal, and the Maven goal is going to be something like package. So let's go ahead and try this. I'm going to do run as Maven build ... So you can do package. We go run. So it said build success. I'm not sure if I believe it, so let's go ahead and look in the we'll go ahead and look in here. I'm on the command line now inside the workspace directory, and I'm going to go inside of, sorry, I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to go inside of OkHttp. There we go. Oh, sorry, that's not the right project. I think we are, it should be the GitHub Search project. There it is, GitHub Search CLI. Man, I modified the wrong Maven too. Okay, so we're gonna fix that. Here we go. Plugin, and we're gonna put that plugin in here. Okay, HTTP runner. Oh, it should not be that. It should be called GitHub Search. All right, and then this one we're gonna do Maven. Run as Maven build package. Apply run. Okay, should have built that. GitHub Search CLI. Great. All right, so in our target directory, it should have built a jar file, and it looks like it did, and it looked sort of correct to me. So this is 708 kilobytes. We can go inside there and check that that jar was created. So you could, jar files are actually just zip files, so you can open it with Archive Manager, go in here and lib and see, yeah, look, we've got Commons CLI, we've got GSON, we've got OkHttp, we've got OKIO. So all of those libraries are in there, and what that should allow us to do is say Java jar GitHub search, and we'll do One-JAR, and I'm gonna say Q Java 1 class demos. Great. So that worked. Let's try another one, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. Let's pass another argument in here. let's look for GSON. Oh no. So it looks like we got some kind of null element here. That means our error handling was not super great. Looks like line 54. So this is good. Let's check this out. What blew up on line 54? Okay, it looks like get object description. So let's wrap these. We're gonna have to probably wrap these all. So I'll say if object dot has description, then I'll do this. We'll just set it to an empty string. That'll be fine. All right, and what I have to do again now is I'm going to run, we're going to run this as a Maven build, and we're going to call package on it because I have to repackage that. Okay, looks good. All right, so that should be updated. This was just updated. Should be, yeah, that was a minute ago. Again, all right, so now we have another problem. Line 56. Maybe it's not a string is the problem. So I think what we probably should do here is just say try, we'll do a try catch. Let's just call it exception. And I think we should probably print this out, but for now we're gonna make it silent just so we don't see anything. Maven, what do you run as? Maven build, package, apply, run, rebuilding, okay. Right. There we go. So it looks like we got a bunch of stuff here. A bunch of different projects for GSON. And then they start, some of these are, they're all pretty, maybe that's not relevant anymore. I'm not sure. It's got some description. So let's make one more modification, and let's only do the first 5. So I'm gonna say iter int count equals 0, count plus plus. If count is greater than 4, I think we'll do break. So that'll break that loop so that we quit iterating, and we won't get any more results. So again, we're going to go to run as Maven build and package it again, apply, run. There we go. So I should be able to change this. I should say what's a GitHub repository I know of. There's one called Jasmine. That's a JavaScript library for testing. So I'll say Jasmine. There we go. So there's the main Jasmine, then something called Jasmine Rice, Jasmine jQuery, Jasmine Node. Looks like pretty relevant stuff, so it seems to be working pretty well. So that's how you do it. This is creating a Maven project. We used a bunch of libraries, and we used 3 libraries. We made it take in command line arguments, and it actually is a standalone jar file. So this jar file, I can copy it somewhere else, and we can test that out. I'll make a new directory. I'll go up here and make a new directory. Call it test jar. And what I'll do in target, I'll say cd target, and I'll copy the one-jar file up to test jar, and let's rename this too. This is kind of a crazy name. We'll just call it Github Search. So I can say Java jar GitHub Search Q GSON. And there we go. We've got our standalone jar file. This is completely portable. You can drop this onto any other server that can run Java, and you'll have your working program that you can search GitHub with from the command line. So thanks for watching.